Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. My name is Olivia Molly Rogers and I'm excited to get comfortable in the uncomfortable with you and remind you that nobody is perfect and everybody has something going on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to Tell Me More. Today we have another Ask Me More episode where I answer questions submitted by you. Well, Daniel asks me questions submitted by you.
Not submitted by me.
No.
Not submitted.
Submitted by the people, the listeners. Thank you, as always, for sending questions through. I always love hearing from you, particularly the voice notes. And we haven't had that many, so send them through, please.
And some people send voice notes but don't want them to be played.
Yeah.
So, which is fine.
I still appreciate hearing from you.
There's heaps. There's so many different categories in this round.
Okay.
Dating. Who would have thought? Therapy.
How unusual.
Running. Lots of different stuff. But we'll get straight into them.
Mm-hmm.
First one we have is, do you have moments of feeling like your life isn't where you thought it would be? How do you overcome it?
I definitely have moments of feeling like that. I think less so more recently, but they still pop up. I think, a good example is my younger brother just had a baby with his beautiful fiance, and I never thought my brother would have kids before me. And I am so happy for them, genuinely, like the instant love that I feel for their child. And, I'm grateful and happy and have all positive feelings about it. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that it also came with a bit of, probably more so when I found out that they were having a baby, a bit of a sting that was like, oh, wow, okay, this is happening and I'm not there yet. So I think a lot of the time it has to do with having children, because that is something that I've always wanted. So friends, I have friends who are now pregnant with their second baby. So I just feel a bit behind when it comes to that. But I also know that, everyone's on their own path and it's not helpful to compare your timelines. And the way that my life has panned out has been quite different in the last few years. But yeah, I just try to be really present and grateful for what I do have. And I think freezing my eggs helps because, like I said, it's generally feelings about having children that pop up in kind of a negative way, but then feeling like I have a bit of a safety net because I froze my eggs. That definitely helps me to overcome those feelings.
Here's a therapy question. How did you start the process of going to therapy and then finding the right therapist?
I feel like this is something I've touched on before. I think, obviously it's a real privilege to be able to access therapy in the way that I do, as regularly as I do. I know that not everybody can. You should, if you are thinking about it, speak to your GP and get a mental health care plan. And that helps to subsidise sessions. I think you can get 10 a year or something now. It used to be 5. I think it's 10, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, initially it starts with a GP, but I've seen lots of different psychologists over the years. I think when I was at school, I used to see a school counsellor, and then as I got a bit older, I went to psychologists, mainly for anxiety management. And finding a good one can be really challenging. I think word of mouth is really helpful, but then the issue with that is, for example, my psychologist at the moment, he won't see any of my friends or anyone that's in sort of my circle. And that extends to strangers who follow me online, because it feels too sort of close to home and it feels like a conflict to him. And I appreciate that. Like, I think it would be a little bit weird if he was seeing people that reach out to me online. But then it's hard for me to be able to, I can't recommend my psych. And I would like to, because he's been so great. So I know that people really struggle with it. I know a guy who started up an app called Pax Psychology, and that is I'm pretty sure you can use it nationally because they do online sessions, but they ask you questions. You fill in this little questionnaire that then helps you to find out what type of psychologist would be best for you, and then they allocate a psych for you. So that's a really good way to find one. But I think you need to persist. I find, I don't know if you have you had individual psych before? Yeah, you have. Yeah,
I have.
Don't you think in the first session it's like very hard to know what it's going to be like moving forward because they really are just getting to know you? It's like an interview almost.
Yeah, I feel like it's just you word vomiting for like an hour, and then they go, "Time's up," and you're like, "I have no idea. You listened well, I guess."
Yeah,
and it's not until a few episodes.
Almost episodes. Speaking podcast
not mental
terms.
Episodes, just a few sessions in that you get
that you won't get a real feel for it. So it's hard because it's an expensive thing to commit to. And to not know if you really connect with them until you're a few sessions in, it's hard.
I've had a few as well. Like I've had multiple.
Because you get to a point where you're like, oh, right, this isn't the right fit.
Yeah. I realized like after 4 or 5 with one that I was like, I'm not really like this person. Like I don't think they fit. I don't think it's a good fit for me.
I think it's unfortunate because it puts people off going because it's such a slog, and those initial sessions when you are just word vomiting, often you leave feeling worse than when you got there because you're like, oh, cool, here's all my trauma, but no solution yet. Like, see ya, thanks for my crying session.
I found that when I was looking the second time for a new psych, that it was very hard to understand whether they were going to be a fit or not. It was really difficult. There wasn't really an obvious way because most of them have very similar things written on their websites and even the databases of them are like, they're pretty bland. They're just like an about page and like you see their credentials and their name, but you don't really know much else. A few of them have videos of them talking, and I think that's super helpful because you can get a vibe. Like you just vibe it. There's no other way. You just like vibe whether they're going to be, but I love the idea of someone being able to like be positioned for you based on what you're there for. It takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it because most of mine have been, when I've done it twice, like it's just like I just have to take a leap and book in, I guess. Yeah. And hope for the best.
I think usually GPs will have a list of people that they'd recommend and then ask you a few questions as to what you prefer. But for me, I've ended up seeing my current psychologist is my favorite one that I've ever worked with, and he is a guy. And I never thought previously when I was younger, I would always request females and sort of older females, like mum vibes. And then I've ended up with this younger male psych. So it's super random. But I think my advice would be open-minded because I think if you narrow down your list too much, then you might end up with the wrong fit.
Do you prefer, like, they do a lot of Zoom ones now? Do you do Zoom ones or are you in person mostly?
I prefer in person, but I love the option of having Zoom. If I'm traveling, it means I don't have to miss a session. And also there have been times where last minute I'm running super late and I won't get there in time. So then I'll just ask if we can jump online instead, and he will do that. He's really flexible with that, which is really nice. So I like having the option, but I do prefer face-to-face. But I think if a psych can only offer telehealth, don't let that be the reason you don't go, because I still think it's really beneficial.
Yeah. I like going though, because I feel like you then walk out after and like, not that you can't walk out of a Zoom, but like if you're at home, you kind of
shut your laptop.
I don't know. It just feels like leaving the place feels like you can leave whatever you've said there too.
Yeah. Yeah. Just leave the drama.
Just leave it in that room. Lock it up. We do have one voice note we'll play today.
Okay.
Hey, Olivia. So one thing that I want discussed or want advice on is how to navigate being in your now mid-30s for me, being single and being childless when wanting to find a partner and wanting to have children is something that you really want. It's something that I really struggle with because I'm starting to feel like I'm the only one that's not found somebody, and that missing out on having children is maybe a real possibility. And it's not something that I hear discussed. It's really challenging because try as I might, I just can't find the right person. And I'm at the age where most of my school friends, my work friends, everyone is engaged, married, partnered, pregnant, has children, and it seems like all of what I see are engagement announcements and wedding invitations and pregnancy announcements and birth announcements, and I'm so happy for those people. And it's such a bittersweet feeling. I'm getting emotional. It's such a bittersweet feeling every time because I'm scared I'm going to miss that. And it's a real thing to be scared of because as women, as much as people can say, oh, you've got time, biologically you don't. And that's a real thing to consider. And don't get me wrong, I understand there are ways, but it's a real worry. So I guess my question is, or, you know, my discussion topic is how to navigate those feelings and how to try and find some kind of calm and peace. Like, how do I learn to trust that what will be and what is for me won't pass me by? Because the more time goes on, the harder that is to believe.
Oh my God, that got me. Felt like I was going to cry before you cried. I just want to give her a massive hug. Thank you so much for the question. I feel emotional for you because I can hear how upsetting it is, but I also can relate to those feelings so much. Oh, sorry. Oh. I'm just going to take a sec.
Yeah, take your time. It's a therapy session today.
Yeah, far out. It's a free one. Thanks. I hate hearing that you think that you're the only one experiencing that because, like, my God, it's definitely not the case. Unfortunately, there are so many women going through that exact same feeling or very similar. And I think the reason I get so upset is thinking back to when my separation happened. I think for me, the hardest part was the grief of what I thought would be. I think I need to pay my psych to talk about this more, obviously. Yeah, I think as a woman in your 30s, going through a breakup or being single and seeing everyone with all their happy news is so hard because two things can be true, right? Like, you can feel really genuinely happy for your friends and family, but also grieve, like also really feel that and feel worried that it's not going to be you and feel jealous. And yeah, I think it's really hard because you are expected to be happy for them and you want to be, but yeah, you can also feel all of those negative feelings that come with it too. Like I said before, I think something that helped me a lot is freezing my eggs. But I also know that that is expensive and not everyone can do that. So I know that that's not a solution for everyone and it might not be for you. But I think for me, the thing that helped was coming to terms with the idea of having a baby on my own, because although I really, really wanted to have a family unit and that's what I'd always seen myself having, the thought of not being able to have kids worried me more or upset me more. So that's something I really worked on, was coming to terms with, you know, picturing myself being a single mum and navigating that solo. I had really thought about what steps I would take and putting that in place and what it would look like, because I was really hesitant to then go into a relationship and put too much pressure on a relationship that person had to be the father of my children, because that's a lot to put on someone when you first meet them. Like, you don't want to meet someone and be like, hey, like, what do you do for work and how many kids do you want? Like, straight up, like, it's a bit hectic. To be fair, I don't think it took me many catch-ups with my now boyfriend to ask him. But yeah, it's a lot. I just want this person to know that all of your feelings are very valid, and I think sometimes you just need to sit with it and let yourself feel sad about it, because it fucking sucks. And it sucks that women do have this biological clock that men don't. They have so much more pressure. You kind of have to choose, at least at some point in your life, if you want a career or if you want a family, or, you know, then constantly have the juggle of trying to manage both if you decide to do that as well. I think there is so much more to it as women that we have to consider, and it's shit. And also dating when you feel constantly let down by the people that you date, or, you know, you go on a date and you know almost instantly that person's not the person for you. It's so disheartening and it makes you not want to do it at all. But yeah, my advice would be don't give up, because there is a high chance that your person is still out there. But my other advice would be to seek support. Therapy, I always bang on about it, but for good reason, because it's been so helpful for me. But I think working with a therapist on what it might look like if you do remain single, and learning to be okay with that with the help of a therapist, I think would be really beneficial. And yeah, I think considering other options, like I said before, I was really considering becoming a mum on my own, and maybe look into what that might look like. But I know that's not for everyone, and financially too, it's not for everyone. And I think, you know, had I done that, I was like prepared to move back to Adelaide. Like, I think I would have needed a lot of family support and my life would have looked very different. But I do think actually playing out what the different scenarios might look like could be helpful. Now that I've got a boyfriend, I almost feel worse. I feel like I left the club somewhat, and I've had some single girls say to me, like, they're sad. They're happy for me, but they're sad that I have a boyfriend, because in a way it felt nice to be in this community where we have each other's backs and I can support other women who are in a similar boat. And now I feel like I've betrayed them by having like a nice, happy relationship.
Yeah. It's like if someone stops grieving or someone stops being in that, like they become,
I'm not in the club anymore. Yeah, and I feel like a traitor. But I still, obviously, the feelings are still there because I can relate so much. And, you know, if things weren't to work out with my current relationship, I'd be bloody devastated, and I'd be back in the club. But yes, I am here for the girls.
Have you ever had to break up with a friend? How did you navigate it?
Ooh, yes. This has happened a few times across my adult years. And in hindsight, I don't think I navigated it well. So I don't know if I should actually give advice on that. I think maybe based off of how I did do it, I would do it better. I would do it differently if I was to do it again, if the situation occurred again. But without giving it, you know, anything away as to who the person was or anything like that. In general terms, the person the relationship didn't feel balanced. I think what I've learned as I've gotten older is how important it is to have a balanced relationship. And that looks different with everyone. You know, you have friends for different reasons. And it's not about give and take so much. It's like being prepared to support each other in similar ways and lift each other up, but also be there when times are tough. And I felt like this friendship was very imbalanced, and they expected a lot from me. They'd get really frustrated if I couldn't give them my time. So I constantly felt guilty. I had that feeling of like, if their name popped up on my phone, rather than being excited or looking forward to seeing what they said, I'd be like, ugh, I'd have like a pang of stress, instant stress or worry as to what it might be, because often they were berating me because I wasn't giving them enough time. So it was toxic. And at the time I didn't realize that. I was like, oh, it's nice that they want so much of me. Like they want my attention and my time. But yeah, I came to realize it was quite toxic, because I wouldn't leave the situation, say we did catch up, I wouldn't leave feeling happier or keen for the next time. I was kind of like, oh, thank God that's done, and I can like leave it another month or whatever until I do it again. And then I came to realize like that, yeah, a light bulb went off where I'm like, that's not a friendship. Like that, your friendships should make you happy or make you feel better when, you know, you're venting about something you're struggling about. Or all of my friendships now, if I catch up with them, I can't wait to see them again. Or when something happens, good or bad, I can't wait to tell them. And that's how it should be. I feel like I kind of ghosted this person, and I feel really bad admitting that, but I kind of just sort of phased it out to a point where I think they got the picture and we just stopped talking. But I think now I'm a little bit better at confrontation, although I still hate it, but I think I would have more of the guts and the respect. I think it's more respectful to actually give them the time to say like, look, this is what's not serving me and I'm sorry, but I don't think I can be friends with you anymore, like a proper breakup. Because I think ghosting when it comes to romantic relationships and also friendships is pretty shitty behavior. So I'm sorry to that person if they ever listen to this.
I know you shared it on Instagram, but would love to hear how you met your partner.
Okay. I love this story. So I was out with Paul, and we were at the Osborne here in Melbourne, which I traditionally would not have thought of being a great place to meet a potential partner. But shout out Osborne, well done. Paul was scouting, unbeknownst to me, he was scouting for me, and he spotted this guy on the dance floor and beelined for him and said, "You're handsome. Are you single?" And he thought Paul was hitting on him. And he was like, "Oh, thanks, but I'm all right." Like, all good. I don't think I'm your type or something. And Paul said, no, I've got the perfect girl for you. Come with me. And he said he was a bit hesitant, as you would be. This man's just, aggressively come up to him. And so then Paul said, will you stay there? And he went and grabbed me and pulled me through the dance floor, didn't give me any context as to what was happening, and then shoved me in front of him. And the way Paul describes it is there were love hearts popping in the sky, and there was definitely an instant connection. We said hi, and I said, I don't know what's going on here. And he said, oh, your friend said he had the perfect girl for me, and apparently it's you. So then we grabbed a drink and got talking. We were talking for a couple of hours, and then I got his number. His phone was dead. So I got his number, and as soon as I got home, I messaged him just saying how nice it was to meet him and that I hoped I'd see him again soon. And yeah, the rest is history. So thanks, Paul. Didn't
wait on the message, obviously.
No, I didn't play it cool.
No playing games. Didn't play it cool.
Nope. Straight in there. Yeah, I was very probably forward, maybe is the word, forward, and just honest from the beginning that I thought he was great. And yeah, no hesitation from me.
What's been the hardest part about being in a new relationship?
I think for me, this is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. And he is such a kind, caring person. And he's always like that. And I have found that challenging, which sounds so weird. I know, but I think when you're used to having very different dynamics, it's hard to adjust. And I remember having a conversation with my therapist about it, saying, I don't know how to deal with lots of compliments or a lot of support, and just really, you know, when he'll look me in the eyes and say something really kind and genuine, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know what to say. That has been quite jarring, because I'm like, I know this is so nice. Getting used to that feeling, I had a lot of anxiety and, you know, I guess a bit of PTSD from past relationships. And I have tried my best to not take that into a relationship, but you can't not. Like, you know, your history is your history. And what my psych told me is, because I said, oh, you know, should I not be in a relationship and make sure I'm fully healed before I'm in a relationship? And he said that that's impossible, because you can't actually completely heal yourself on your own. You need scenarios where there are two people involved, where certain things come up for you to be able to face it and deal with it. So yeah, it's been a lot of processing for me, but it's been really positive and nice. It's just sort of learning to sit within the feelings, and leaning into it and being able to trust and feel safe and secure. Yeah, it's taken some time, but I can take the compliments now. Yeah, he's an angel.
Can you tell us a story about a time you felt really embarrassed or ashamed?
I have many, but how deep do we want to go here? A moment that comes to mind is, in a previous relationship that was quite toxic, I had a disagreement with my partner at the time, and I had not told anyone that we'd ever even had a single disagreement. And it was late at night, and he shut down, didn't want to talk to me, and I felt so alone that I called Lifeline, because I felt like I couldn't tell my friends. And I think this is quite common when you are in an unhealthy relationship, that maybe you keep secrets from your friends because you worry that if you tell them, then your friends won't like them, and if you stay with them, then they're not going to like that. So you protect your partner. So I think that's what I was doing by calling Lifeline. And the person on the other end of the line was incredible and talked me through it so much. And it was, you know, I was so grateful for that phone call. But even that, I was ashamed of that. I was ashamed that I turned to a support line instead of friends or family, because I have beautiful friends and family who I'm sure would have taken the call and would have listened and been supportive. But I wanted to keep things to myself. And I think, like, over the last few years, particularly with all the therapy that I've done, I came to realize, and it's something that we spoke about on the podcast with Tracy, is that shame festers in the dark, but it can't survive when you shine a light on it. So when I have spoken to friends and family about moments that I was previously too scared to talk about, their reactions have always been so different to what I thought they would be in my head and what I'd convinced myself that they would be. And it's never as bad as what I thought it would be. It's actually always been positive and amazing. And, you know, they've been so kind and open, and they've really listened to me. So yeah, I feel like what I've learnt, and I will always practice this moving forward, is if you have the feeling that you want to keep something to yourself, it's probably more reason to share it.
Do you have any more lighthearted embarrassment moments?
Yes.
It's been a sad one.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry for all the emotions. What a roller coaster. Okay. So yes, recently I went to Dubai with my cousin, and we were hanging by the pool, and we had been there for hours. I think we got there at 11 and we were there till maybe 5:30, and just minding our own business. Like, we didn't really talk to any, you know, we were friendly to people, but we didn't make any friends. We were very much keeping to ourselves. And across the day, you know, we'd taken a few photos here and there, but then we were just sitting and enjoying ourselves and reading our books and just chilling. And there were some other girls in a cabana nearby, and they were pretty much shooting all day, just like getting content of each other, which is so fine. Like, we go off, do that. But we didn't talk, or we didn't interact. I think at one moment, one of the girls looked over and I smiled. And I feel like I make a conscious effort to smile at other women if we make eye contact every day, because I never want a woman to think that I am judging her. I think because I often feel that way, that like someone's judging me. So I always try and smile. So I'd smiled at them, but that was it. And I think Georgie's the same. She always smiles at strangers. Anyway, we were sitting on the pool bed, and these girls got up to leave. And one of them in particular, she was like stumbling out of the cabana. She was very lit. And she walked along the cabanas and then stopped right at where our bed was, like facing our bed out in the pool. And she's standing there like she can't stand still because she's so drunk. So she was swaying, but like her eyes weren't moving, and she was looking straight down at us, and she was not smiling. And Georgie and I were smiling, and we're like, what's going on? Like, under our breath to each other, because like we were 10 meters away. So she wouldn't have been able to hear that. But I was like, I don't know what's happening, because like she looked like she wanted to kill us. And she's just staring at us for what felt like forever. It was probably not that long. And then she pulls out her hand like this, her finger and her thumb with the shape of an L on her forehead. Thank you, Smash Mouth. Is it Smash Mouth?
Yeah, yes.
I think so. She went like this and looked at us and said, "Losers," and then just stumbled off into the distance. Oh my God, I melted. And Georgie and I looked at each other, and then we started laughing. And then once we stopped laughing, we were like, oh my God, that was really mean. And then this waiter came running over, and he's like, I'm so sorry, she's very drunk. We were like, it's okay. But wow, I don't think I've been called a loser to my face since I was a kid. You know, varying degrees of loser, you know, different variations of loser, I suppose I get called online. But yeah, nothing like that. And that was a really funny, kind of embarrassing, weird moment.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've tried
Nice.
to find her we tried to find her just to see
Like tag location or something. Try to
like from
stalk
the
it.
venue that we were at, but we haven't been able to. But yeah, if she listens to this, thank you
Thanks for the story.
for the story. But yeah, Georgie did say to me, she's like, oh God, I don't know how you deal with people saying mean things online, because like that's hurt my feelings. Oh, but anyway, it was funny. We are going to finish with oranges and lemons. Do you want to go first?
I mean, I'm going to be like every Melbourne person here with my lemon, like teases us with a little bit of sunshine, and then spring starts, and we hailed yesterday. It's horrible weather. I've got 3 layers on today, and I think the weather's just a little bit of a lemon.
The wind. Oh, kills
So cold. I'm over it. That's my main lemon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about my orange yet. I'll have to think about it.
Okay. My lemon is I keep getting in trouble with my building manager for like leaving things around. Sorry, Andreas. Actually, it's not just me. It's also my boyfriend. Leaving things in places that he shouldn't, i.e. kettlebells. We won't go into that more. Anyway, that's a lemon because I hate being in trouble. So, yeah. But my orange is that my brother and his fiance had a baby.
That's so good.
And
Congrats.
they named him after our grandpa. And I just think about my grandpa, if he was still here, how stoked he would be. Like, he would be walking around the street just telling anybody that he has this child named after him. So, it's a really happy, special time for my family.
I remembered my orange. I brought it up in our WIP, which is your week in progress meeting, or work in progress meeting with our team. We always call out great things that happen during the week, and I brought my personal one to the table instead of a business one. I got tickets to Oasis in Manchester.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! How could you forget? That's a huge orange.
Which I haven't even thought about, like how and when now I have to go and get there. But they're from Manchester.
That's
I'm a big
insane.
Oasis fan.
That's so good.
So I'm going to see them in their hometown.
So cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So that's a massive orange for me.
That's a big
Very
fat
excited.
orange.
Big fat juicy orange.
A big juicy orange. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much to everyone who has listened. Sorry about the emotional roller coaster. But I hope you enjoyed the ride. If you are enjoying the podcast, please give us a review. If you're not enjoying it, please don't give us a review, and like and subscribe and follow along. And from one loser to another.
See you next time.
That's it. Thanks for listening, guys.